6:32 p.m. for the City of New Franklin Board of Directors. Meeting is here in order January 26, 2021.
Okay, I'm going to do roll call. Mr. Whitner. You hear me, Dave?
Yeah, no, I'm here via video. I got my mic off. I'm going to turn it back off.
Okay, I got you. Amber?
Present.
Okay. Mr. Roberts?
I'm here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Kozla? Ed? Over there. Okay. Okay, Mr. Armbruster is absent. Okay, I'm going to read the notice here. This meeting has been duly advertised in the Southside News Leader and the Suburbanite Weekly newspapers. This meeting has also been advertised on the City of New Franklin Municipal website and Facebook page. The City of New Franklin Board of Zoning Appeals is governed under Robert's Rules of Order. All comments and questions shall be directed to the chairperson of the board throughout the duration of this entire meeting. Please be advised the board may or may not render a decision on the items before it this evening. Additional information may be required from the respective applicants, or additional information may be sought from the city engineer, city law director, or other sources in order to reach an informed decision. And Ms. Crow will be the chairperson tonight.
All right, Mr. Kibble, will you read the notice of public hearing, or would you like me to read the notice of the record?
I can read if you want me to.
All right, would you?
Okay, I will. Notice of public hearing. The City of New Franklin Board of Zoning Appeals will hold a YouTube live stream public hearing on Tuesday, January 26, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. from New Franklin City Hall to hear the following request. 2021-BZA-01 Dennis Baum and Company, 2566 Hudson Aurora Road, Hudson, Ohio 44236, representing Timothy P. and Jennifer C. Smucker, 4554 Long Drive, New Franklin, Ohio 44319, and requesting the following variances within the RL High Density Residential Lakefront District. From A, Article 6, Section 600.02 of 5 feet 0 inches or 45 feet 0 inches from the water's edge, whereas the zoning code requires a minimum front yard or lakeside setback distance of 50 feet 0 inches from the water's edge. And from B, Article 6, Section 600.02 of 8 feet 6 inches or 6 feet 6 inches from the west side yard property line, whereas the zoning code requires a minimum side yard setback distance of 15 feet 0 inches from either side property line. Whereas, okay, let's see, where's, okay, I got that part. And then Article 6, Section 600.02 of 7 feet 0 inches or 8 feet 0 inches from the east side yard property line, whereas the zoning code requires a minimum side yard setback distance of 15 feet 0 inches from either side property line. And lastly, from D, Article 6, Section 600.03 B3, whereas the zoning code requires a Board of Zoning Appeals a review of any variance located within the front yard or lakeside of the property within the RL High Density Residential Lakefront District in order to construct a new approximately 38 feet 6 inches wide by 91 feet 0 inches long, approximately 2,997 square feet, two-tier irregular shaped single family dwelling on the vacant Long Drive property. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kibble. Who do we have to speak on behalf of the variance request for Long Drive?
Neil Luketic.
Okay, can you spell your last name for me, sir?
Luketic.
All right. Please spell that one more time.
Luketic.
I see, okay. Sir, if you could raise your right hand. You solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Please state in detail the project at 4554 Long Drive and why the variance is required.
This is just describing the variances asked for. Is that what? Is that?
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. What was the question one more time?
Okay, well, let me start with this way. Can you please state your full name and address?
Neil Luketic, Neil,
And your address?
3119 Liberty Ledges Drive in Twinsburg.
Right. If you could please state in detail the project as well as the reason the variance is being requested for 4554 Long Drive.
The project is a new house, a new dwelling on an existing vacant lot, and the variance is, if we would like, would it help to look at the site plan? The reference. The variances are so that we can have the size as required by the client's program requirements, and to have a new full-time residence for the clients at the property.
You're constructing a new residence on a vacant lot,
Correct.
and what is the reason you not comply with zoning code?
The size of lot, the area permitted by the setbacks in the zoning code, it's a minimal size that's allowed on the lot. And so if you look at the site plan that was submitted with the appeal, you can see that there is a blue line that shows the area that would be the buildable area based off of the setbacks stated in the code. And you can see that based off of the pie shape, the shape of the lot, that the area of the lot, it doesn't really let much of a sizable house to be built.
Is there anything else you'd like to state before we open it up for questions from the board?
Would it help if I did share a site plan and walk through the footprint and the lake side?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. So with this first sheet A1 that was submitted with the appeal, we're showing that there's two parcels, and we're going to focus on the lakeside parcel. And you can see that from this site plan, the property lines are shown with a blue line indicating what the zoning required setback is. And then you can see the proposed footprint and how the proposed footprint warrants the requested new setbacks that we're showing here. So on the east side, we're proposing the 8-foot setback.
Hey, gentlemen, excuse me, if you guys are speaking, please mute your microphones. It's very hard to hear whoever is testifying on our end, so we do apologize. If you're not speaking, if you could just mute. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Shea, it would be possible, could you hold the mic headset a little closer, because it's very difficult.
Okay. Is it better? Okay. So as we're looking at this site plan, the east side is an 8-foot setback that we're requesting. The lake side is a 45-foot setback requested. And that 45-foot setback goes to the edge of a covered deck that is open air with a roof and a deck. That's a 12-foot deep covered deck at the rear yard. So in addition to the 45-foot, there's 12 feet before we get to an exterior wall of the actual house. And then on the west property line, we're asking for a 6'6" side yard setback. And also at this plan, you can see the neighboring properties. We're showing some of the existing setbacks there as well. So to the west property, west house, there's a 4'4" existing setback to their exterior wall. Well, the building, the house and the garage to the east, there's about a 6-foot setback and a 4'3" setback to the garage.
Nothing else. I will ask if there are any board members who must abstain from this case or who had any ex parte communication with any applicant or anything involved in this case. Okay, nobody must abstain. So I guess we'll open it for questions from the board. Parsons?
Mr. Lucetic, if you were to, why hasn't the house been slid north just a bit to reduce the size of the variances? Why is it being held so far south?
So the starting position for the north has been we're shooting at that the zoning required setback for the garage, which allows a easier turning into the garage, and then we're showing the regular depth of garage. And then there's also something that with being on the lakefront property, it seems like to reach out so that they do get the optimal views from this property to the lake. And the irregular shape of the lot with it being pie shaped, you can see even from the blue setback line, it pinches towards the lake. So to be able to optimize the views from the living room as well as the covered deck and the bedrooms at this end of the house.
And is it fair to say that the leading edge, the lakeside edge of this house appears to be pretty much in line with the homes on either side? Is that correct?
That is correct. These are the accurate. These are on that site plan. These are staked from the surveyor's review of the site. So these are actual corners of the neighboring property.
Anybody have any additional questions for this witness?
I have one question, Amber. It's David.
Okay.
Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead. Yes, we can hear you.
I read through the sewer approval on this, and somewhere in there, I don't have it, but it said that the lots had to be combined in order for the sewer approval to be passed. Had that been done?
As far as I know that there are still two parcel numbers for the separate lots, and the combination may be something that Barry could answer.
I asked Barry before the meeting started. He said he didn't know. I checked it yesterday, and they have not been combined. Hey, Ed, turn your mic off, can you?
Can I respond to that? The comment from the is required for the septic system to be placed on parcels. Recording is required based on their separate trying to sites need to be no, it can be connected. We department, health department, whatever capable way.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you. I don't know. Excuse me. Sir. Sir. We can't hear you and we don't know who is speaking. Can you please identify yourself?
It was Tony Luketic. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. All right, so we're going to get to you in just a minute, Mr. Luketic. We'll have you. We'll put you under oath and have you provide that information.
I was
okay.
Okay.
That was Neil Luketic.
Okay. Hey, Amber, it's David.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Neil Luketic? No? Okay. Mr. Tony Luketic, if I could have you raise your right hand.
I did the first time around.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, then that's fine. We had a hard time hearing you speaking, but please continue.
So do you want me to go through that septic system again? The health department, I guess,
Just the second part.
requires whatever. Excuse me. We're gonna pursue whatever the health department's asking us to do.
Anybody else
Is that
who's
it?
speaking on behalf of the variance? Yes, sir. Thank you. Is there anybody else who's speaking on behalf of the variance? Okay. If not, we'll read into the record some of the additional information that was received via email. This was sent via email from Robert Roseman, Ambassador, 4538 Long Drive. Support the request for all variances applied for by Timothy and Jennifer Smucker to build a home at 4554 Long Drive. Thank you, Robert and Rosemary Ambassador. January 18th, dear Mr. Gannell, as the owner of 4560 Long Drive, which is contiguous to the east of 4554 Long Drive, I am writing to express my full support for the zoning variance requested by Timothy and Jennifer Smucker. Mr. and Mrs. Smucker have graciously shared their detailed building plans with me, and I believe the home they intend to build will be a wonderful addition to Long Drive in the city of New Franklin. Thank you for allowing me to express my support in favor of the variance. Dearly Barry Dunaway, 4560 Long Drive. This was January 25th, 2021 via email. We own the lot immediately to the west of said property and have had a chance to review the plans with the Smuckers. The plans look good to us and seem to be in line with various to our property and others over the years. We thank you for your considerations and hope that this will result in the Smuckers being approved to build a house they desire. All the best, Terrence and Ennis Brady, 4550 Long Drive, New Franklin, Ohio. Was there anything additional that needed to be made part of the record that was provided to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Gannell?
The city engineer's information.
Does anybody have a copy of that handy they could read for the record?
I do, Ms. Crowe. Would you like me to read it into the record?
Please.
January 18th, regarding 4554 Lam Drive, proposed single-family home. A review of the site plan for the above referenced project has been completed. The project involves the construction of new, approximately 3,000 square foot single-family home. Following are review comments as they relate to erosion control and stormwater management. A scalable site plan is to be prepared and submitted that includes the address to address the following items. 1, show location of silt fencing. Silt fencing is to be installed along the property's east and west boundary prior to the start of construction and shall remain in functioning condition until there is a good stand of grass on all disturbed areas. Additionally, silt fencing is to be installed between the limits of construction and the existing 100-year floodplain. 2, proposed contours. 3, show proposed spot grades around the home and along property line, indicate high and low points. 4, show location of the downspouts and indicate that they will discharge above the 100-year floodplain. And 5, provide stormwater drainage plan showing how stormwater will be managed and controlled from impacted adjacent properties. Please contact me if you have any questions. It can be reached at 330-526-2714. Very truly yours, Kevin M. Noble, professional engineer, city engineer.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions for those speaking in favor of the
You know, Dave Whitner, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Whitner actually asked the question I had about whether or not the deed recording had been accomplished for the septic system to be placed across the street there. So I would hope that that would be one of the conditions by which this
might be approved.
December 1st letter, you noted in the opening paragraph that the project is in the phase and that additional details to the record due. I assume that there won't be any, you don't anticipate changes to the footprint or the location, is that correct?
I had a hard time hearing that. That was, there will not be any changes to the footprint or the
Location of the, on the lot.
location of the house. Correct. There will not be changes.
Anybody, I don't believe we got any information about anybody speaking against the variance. Is that correct, Mr. Gano?
Mike,
I'm sorry. All we received, Madam Chair, was the 3 emails in favor of the variance request. We did not receive any opposition from anyone, and we did not receive any requests to appear to testify tonight. One final thing I wanted to mention, I did pass on Mr. Noble's stormwater report to Neil Plaketic. And we had talked a little bit about this via email, but as far as from a staff position, we have no opposition to just adding Mr. Noble's report as a condition to the approval. So, I mean, what he's asking for is basically just, standard fare.
Okay. And we can work on the specifics of that language when we review the motion. So then at this point, I suppose we can move on to the import variance criteria. Whether the property will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be a beneficial use of the property without the variance. Thoughts from the board?
David speaking. Can you hear me, Amber?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is a real small lot. In order to shoehorn this lot in there on lakeside property, I think we need to grant the variance just to get something in there that's reasonable. They're not building a real big house, but they got to get it. And they're not, the variances aren't any larger than any we've granted in this lakefront district before. I mean, so that's my opinion. Thank you.
And I think that kind of segues into the next talking point about whether or not the variance is substantial. I think I kind of agree with Dave that it's not substantial, especially in light of the other variances that this board does in the past in that particular area. Do you else have any thoughts on that? Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment.
My opinion is probably shared by the rest of you. This is a very nice home being built, and based upon the letters of the adjoining property owners and others, and the style and manner in which this house is being located, I think it will improve the characteristics of the road. I think we can meet this standard.
I would agree. Whether the variance adversely affects the delivery of governmental services. I don't believe so. I don't think that there will be governmental services. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction.
What's the owner of the side yard setback? This lot.
I don't believe so. I believe from looking at neighbors' properties, they would be right. They would be easy to assume that the side yards are closer than what the zoning code says.
Whether the problem can be resolved by some manner other than granting a variance. It could be a house that fits, as you indicated earlier, within the footprint required, but
I think in this literally meet the 15 setbacks, but the house would not, would then substantially, be a substantial detriment to the neighboring property. I think in this instance, we need to grant the variance to build the type of house that fits.
And whether the variance serves the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement, whether substantial justice will be done by granting the variance.
Here you go.
I concur. Thank you, Mr. Carson.
You know, I believe it's within the spirit and intent. This is a funny shaped lot. We're not building a house that's oversized for this lot. Sure, it's going to have required some variance, but I don't think we're building a monster house on a little tiny lot. We're putting a moderate sized house on a small lot, and I think it's within the spirit and intent of what our zoning code is looking to achieve.
All right, I will entertain a motion on the matter.
I will move we approve the request of Timothy P. and Jennifer C. Smucker, 4554 Long Drive, Ohio, 44319, from Article 6, Section 02 of 0 inches, or 45 feet 0 inches from the water's edge. Whereas the zoning code requires a front yard side setback of 50 feet 0 inches from the water's edge. B, Article 6, Section 2 of 8 feet 6 inches, or 6 feet 6 inches from the west side yard property line, whereas the zoning code requires a side yard setback 15 feet 0 either side yard property line, and from section 600.0 8 feet 0 inches from the east side yard property line, whereas the zoning code requires a minimum 5 yard setback distance of 0 inches either side property line, and the Article 6, Section 203.3, whereas the zoning code requires a board of zoning variance located within the front yard right side of the property within the in order to move 38 feet wide by 91 feet, approximately 2,997 square feet, two-tier or regular on the vacant Long Drive property, provided applicant combines the two lots required by Summit County, Suffolk Public Health, that the city engineers is in a part of the conditions for approval.
You have a second on the motion? I will second the motion.
Okay, Mr. Parsons made the motion. We have, who made the second?
Amber.
Okay. All right, we're going to do a roll call. Mr. Whitner,
I'm in favor of the variance.
Ms. Crow,
In favor.
Mr. Roberts,
In favor of the variance.
Mr. Parsons,
In favor?
and Mr. Kozla.
In favor of the variance.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0. I'd like the board members to stay on, and everyone else can call it a night.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you.
Can I
Good
ask a
luck.
question? Can I ask a question first?
Yes,
Sure.
please. Go ahead, sir.
The health department states that recording, it doesn't say specifically that we have to combine the lots. Would it be proper to just say that we're going to do whatever the health department needs? Can we even combine lots and still have that driveway run through that public drive?
Driveway and easement. I wouldn't think that'd be a problem.
And I'll agree with Joe. I think that driveway's got an easement through there. It's David Whitner speaking. If I was on the board when this property was sold to Mr. Smucker because his septic tank had previously been on that property and
Right.
he needed that in order to make it one parcel. So I don't see the difficulty or in combining. You know, you got to get a survey and a new legal description made, and then you just combine, re-record it as one parcel, and then it just solves all that problem. Because eventually, Eric's not going to like this, but that Turkey Foot Sailing Club's going to sell off that very, very valuable property, is what I'm afraid of. And it may save you some trouble in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, can I, this is Tim Smucker. May I make a comment or not?
Oh, please.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your consideration. Really appreciate it. We've been, actually, we own the property that Barry Dunaway owns now. So I sold it to Barry. We know the neighbors, we know the island. We want to do everything possible to make that a wonderful place. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Oh, good luck with the building.
Thank you.
Ms. Crowe, we can entertain a motion to adjourn with the board, but we'll keep the board members on.
I will second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. And we'll just keep the BZA members on here for a minute.
Thank you, guys.
Else can